Hello and welcome back to another episode of For Azeroth. I am one of your hosts, the true villain Manny, or just simply Manny, and of course we are joined by the lovely Rhea. Rhea, how are you and how has Lex been treating you this week?
She doesn't have anything to say to you, Manny.
Okay. She had a lot to type, but alright.
She has a lot to type, but she has nothing to say. No, she's feeling like chewing on my desk. Does that help?
Okay. Well, then we'll swap over to you, Lex. Lex, how are you and how's the World of Warcraft been treating you?
Good. I've gotten to play some alpha. We did not get AOTC last week, but we are very hopeful. We were consistently getting into phase 3. It was kind of the type of thing where, like, frankly, I think we probably would have had it with a couple more pulls, but we try very hard not to be the T. Like, just because we have a bunch of parents and stuff, we try not to be like, oh, we can do it in a couple more pulls. Who wants to stay up a little bit later? So my guess is, knock on a lot of wood, that we have it this week.
Okay. I mean, well, this week there's an extra 3% power for those who are pushing the rep. That means 12% overall, so that should definitely help. Actually, if you guys are locking out, are you getting the different, what are they called? Ranks?
So that is part of the issue we are thinking about right now, is that we are probably going to still hold for Mondays. For a while we've been doing Mythic. We did Mythic Plus last week. This week we did Heroic because we wanted to get our cartel chips. You can cut out me saying for 35 minutes on that. But we have been encouraging the team to do LFR, and that might become a consideration. I think as of now, it seems like most people are doing LFR on their off time to get up to those ranks and at least kind of keep up. But that is part of the issue, right? Is that most of our team, maybe not most, but a significant portion of our team really do have a limited amount of World of Warcraft time and are primarily playing on raid night. And so when we do lockout, we do have to think about that a little bit of like, we are potentially saying that, subsection of our team is only going to do Dimensius for the next however many weeks.
Yeah. So I guess that is a quandary. Are you guys like going to police that at some point? Or is it just like a suggestion, guys? Like, this will definitely give us the power we need, and then let people go by carrot rather than whip?
We have historically policed it, and this is what I was talking about a little bit last week with if we're hitting a boss and it feels like I fundamentally do not understand how we are possibly supposed to get out through this because it's so painful and so overwhelming, that's when we start thinking it's a gear issue, it's just a raw number issue, and we need to start talking about whether or not we need to sit people to move forward. Right now, because we're consistently getting into phase 3, and it really feels like the issue is, we've also been having just an absurd number of bugs. Like, almost every time we do the flying section of Dimensius, we've had one person get hard bugged out, which means we have to res them because they die, which means that we waste a battle res, which means that when we get into phase 3, when you really need to be able to pump that DPS, we are one battle res down, and somebody might have run through somebody, I don't know, some demon hunter idiot probably ran through one of those stars that's dead without remembering that you're not supposed to do that. Who does that? Who fell rushes through those? We are just like, we don't have that ability to push up the DPS. So because it doesn't feel like we're hitting a hard wall so much as we just really need to like clean things up and perfect them, we try not to sit people when it's dance versus numbers.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to have kept you waiting, Sean. I know that you, unlike me, wait till you're introduced before saying anything. But hello, Sean. How are you, and how's the World of Warcraft treating you?
Hi, Manny. I'm doing great. Warcraft has been awesome. On retail, I am shifted into full maintenance mode, which basically means I'll be raid logging for the foreseeable future, as we are now into our this Thursday will be our first night of official farm. So assuming everything goes smoothly, I have no reason to believe it won't. I'll most likely just be raid logging on retail. Other than my remix dailies, I have hit max item level on remix, and I am now starting the power climb. I've also purchased all of the transmog, all of the mounts except for 2, and most of the toys. So I've been enjoying that, and so I'm actually now in I've completed all the quests as well. So I'm now also in maintenance mode for remix. So I'm literally just, but remix raid logging means I still have to log in every day because it's every day. And I've mostly shifted in my focus into the alpha and testing add-ons, trying to find add-ons to test. If you are an add-on developer and you have an add-on that you want tested on the alpha that you've been working on, or one that you wrote for retail that you want to see if it works on the alpha, shoot me a message, jump into the Discord at bit.ly/Faz Discord. Let me know. I will test your add-ons. I've been spending my days on hunts for things that will allow me to reskin the cooldown manager. Mask works, but it doesn't fix the major issues I have, which is you can't reduce the spacing to 0, and you can't center justify the icons. They left or right justify. So if you have one with 5 and one with 4, it looks awful.
These are the major issues plaguing add-ons right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about the rest of the stuff later, but those are the things. Where's my dog? Those are the things that the visual things. I want to look pretty, right? You look good, you play good. So that's basically. But no, Warcraft's been treating me good. I've been feeling good about it, and I wanted to say I'm ready for midnight, but we have a lot of work to do, so I'm not. What I am ready for is phase 6 of alpha, which was not on the roadmap, but which was announced to the add-on developer Discord.
I see. Well, I mean, I guess we should get right into it. Let's talk about these add-ons, because Blizzard took the time, Team 2 took the time to address add-ons. And what Midnight's going to do to the combat add-ons. Now, with this, they spoke about what their initial logic was for their API, how that was the most restrictive version, and then that the team had an expectation that the community, the add-on developers would come back with feedback and guide them to where they needed to loosen their restrictions, which I'm going to say is the way you would do it in a professional environment, where you start at a baseline and then you open up things because you are worried about security risks. However, I feel like in game development, in a development with a community like the World of Warcraft, this seems like something that needs to be explicitly communicated ahead of time so that they do not get the reaction that they got, so that they do not cause the conversation to be so soured so fast. And so I feel like Blizzard dropped the ball flat out in communication. This article that we're referring to, in my mind, is 3 to 4 weeks late. It should have been ahead of time and saying, like, hey, you're going to be getting the alpha. What you will find is this. What we are looking for is this, right? And going from there. But that said, Blizzard has been providing detailed technical updates to add-on developers. We saw with Weak Ors, there was 2 weeks of videos of like, this is what it is and this is why we can't do it, and then another one being like, they've made these changes, but like this isn't good enough. And then afterwards we saw different developers even showing like the notes that the layman probably has no understanding of, right? That Blizzard is putting forward to them, that shows not only what is coming up, what will be coming soon, and what's intended for the future as well. So there seems to be some communication. I just don't know how back and forth it is, because obviously I'm not part of that communication.
Yeah, there was not to be an eternal hater who can always pull the bad out of anything that's good. There was a little bit of me when I read that post that was like, oh, you're doing the thing that like your defender, like, I don't know. It felt like a lot of people were saying like, no guys, maybe they're just gonna like make it super tight now and then like loosen it up later. And Blizzard's like, yeah, we're just like, it's gonna, we were always intending to do this, you guys. It wasn't like, it's not like we just didn't understand what was going on and suddenly are startled by it. Because I agree, like, it just feels so obvious to me that if this is what you were going to do, the first thing you do is you write to the add-on authors and be like, hey guys, we're going to start really intense. We are going to loosen restrictions. So don't for example, make a major post the day after we tell people that weak auras are going to stay around, saying the weak auras are gone. It's going to be okay. We're going to talk about it. We're going to keep communicating. So it's either that they communicated so poorly that they missed a very obvious thing they needed to do if they were going to start with the most stringent restrictions and loosen them, or this was what they wanted to do. Like they wanted really stringent restrictions. Everyone started freaking out, and they are currently trying to backtrack to save face. And I don't know which one I'm more stressed about, but I don't really see a world where this was well done.
Which one would you prefer?
I have a lot of feelings about this post, and I'm trying to temper myself. Okay. This is a 15-paragraph post that they made, and it isn't until the 12th paragraph that we get any new information. So
go ahead.
all of what you just said, both of you, that Blizzard coming out, obviously this communication should have happened weeks ago, but it did. If you go back and watch the first video that they did with Max and Dratnos, where Ian breaks the news that we're going to be losing add-ons and then says, don't worry, we're going to launch them simultaneously, and ignore that part. But if you go back to that video where he announces what they're doing, he says in that video, their intention is to make it so that people can still reskin their offerings so that add-ons don't lose functionality for accessibility to the people. Like literally everything that the first 11 paragraphs of this post that came out is almost word for word what he says in that video from 4 months ago. So they're not telling us anything that we didn't already know and that they haven't already said. And they've actually done nothing. I've said multiple times on the show, like it would be really great if they would give us specifics. They keep saying combat related things, combat related stuff. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean I can't track my own abilities? Does that mean that I can't change the nameplate color of a different mob? Because right now I can't. Those are locked out. You cannot do it. Anyway, this post is 4 months too late. It tells us nothing that they haven't already told us until we get to the portion about raid frames, which is a shining nugget in this post. Their post, their mentioning of raid frames, which I'm happy to talk about. But everything up to that point, there's no, it's literally just the same buzzwords. We're locking out combat abilities, add-on abilities to make combat calculations for you. We expect that add-ons will be able to reskin stuff in the way that they want, which they've been saying since day one, which we're still not seeing come to full fruition yet. And it's still just, I just want somebody at Blizzard to tell us what functionality that we have now do you not want us to have, so we can stop wasting I almost said the F word, so we can stop wasting our energy on it, because I'm tired of asking for the ability to change the color of a nameplate based on the mob type if you're never planning to give it to us. Just tell us you're not going to give it to us, and I can move on. But if we don't know, and we don't, because all this says is we don't want you to be able to have combat calculation functionality, but we do want you to be able to customize the look. Give us a specific, please, I beg you. Somebody tell us something of substance. Okay. The raid frames look great. I can't wait till we talk about those.
Okay. I will say from what they have put out that something like being able to have lieutenants or casters categorically distinguished on nameplates, whether that be that all casters have a different color, whether that be lieutenants have additional markings to show that they are lieutenants, that seems like something from what they have said that would not be allowed with their goals, because that would be looking into unit IDs, interpreting something that is considered a secret value. And so from what I've read on this, and I only have like barest technical knowledge, I don't think that's something that is intended to happen. Now, obviously, they've gone back on some things that previously didn't look like they were going to happen, right? So again, we're back to that guessing game that you hate so much. That said, what they have put forward after multiple paragraphs is some new information about things. Before we get to raid frames, I do believe that one thing that they should have said previously that they added into it was the focus on accessibility. This is something that wasn't really in the conversation many months ago. I believe that was in April. That came into here. There was a focus on text to speech, so that you wouldn't be relying on visual cues to track all the add-ons, or rather all the cooldowns. Those cooldowns, of course, are much less because of the pruning, so you've seen them attack that from different directions. And there are a number of ways for you to get alerts on that. So gaining stacks of an ability, or it coming off of cooldown, or it reaching the pandemic window, or a number of different things you can get either through text-to-speech or through various alerts. Going through those alerts on the alpha, they are pretty limited in terms of like what sounds you can get. There's stuff from Warcraft 3, Warcraft 2, which are like games from nearly 20 years ago, and therefore didn't have the largest catalog of sounds, and even still, I don't think that there's all of them. I really want them to open that up so that you can have very distinctive sounds instead of 4 different animal noises that I have to recognize which animal that is. Go ahead.
Not to be an eternal hater that can always spin the negative out of a positive, but I don't think you can call it a focus on accessibility when you didn't talk to a disabled person until they made a very popular post on Reddit. Like, that's not a focus on accessibility. That's like, oh shit, right, we told everyone we were focusing on accessibility. We have to do that. Like, I just feel like they're saying everything way too late for it to matter.
So there was a conversation in the Faz, the conversation between the three of us that wasn't public, and it was somewhat related to this in terms of who is in the room and who is speaking to issues, but it wasn't talking about accessibility.
Can we call it the Faz universe? I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think we should at this point. I think we're big enough that we can call it the Fazverse.
So the conversation was between the three of us, not the broader Faz community, the Faz universe, as you're calling it.
Yes, thank you.
And there is obviously there should be a priority. There should be a goal to get knowledgeable, experienced voices in the room whenever you're dealing with something, right? And there was a conversation about people who aren't knowledgeable or don't have experience, how they should deprioritize their own voices, right?
Oh.
To the point...
Another conversation you're talking
you know
about.
the point, right?
Yeah.
To the point where it was like, if I don't have experience in a category, my opinion is basically invalid. Now, there was a pushback about how invalid or if it is so binary, but some of this stuff could have been worked on based on previous work in that space, right? And previous advice that they have been given, right? Without somebody giving them fresh advice in that space, right? So I don't want to say just because they didn't have people from Undaunted, because Undaunted was part of that thread, right? In the short term that they started working on these features, does not mean that people with similar experience to those in Undaunted hadn't given them stuff to inform them, right? Now they're pulling in Undaunted, which is objectively better, and they should have pulled in people with experience in both World of Warcraft and with different capabilities in terms of vision, in terms of hearing, in terms of just capability, because that is objectively better to have that confluence of experiences to inform them when they're doing this. And so I'm glad that they're doing it now, but again, we're worried about time limit when they are rushing towards a release sometime early next year.
Fair. And I guess, to be honest, I started this entire conversation saying I don't know which one would be worse if they're like, you know, just really bad at communicating or lying to us. And I think one of my biggest frustrations with the World of Warcraft team right now is I just feel like chronically gaslit by them. Like, I kind of do wish that one of them, like, that somebody, and Ian has said similar things, but he's kind of like masked it in professional language. I want a member of Blizzard to just come out and be like, hey guys, we really did not realize how big it was going to be to take on add-ons, and we're kind of stuck in it right now. But we're really, we understand it's been stressful, and we didn't know what we were doing early on, and we're kind of scrambling a little bit. And so if it feels like we're a little overwhelmed right now, it's because we're a little overwhelmed right now, and we're doing our best, and we're trying to play catch up. Or if somebody would come out and say that to me, I would be like, okay, at least we're getting somewhere, right? At least I actually know that I can trust you when you speak. Versus if you put out a thing where you're like, oh yeah, we always knew you guys were going to be really mad about this, and we were just waiting for your feedback, which is why we didn't tell anyone that we wanted feedback and that things were going to change. And also, like, we always knew accessibility was going to be a big thing, and we're really focused on it, which is why we didn't start bringing people in until after we got yelled at on Reddit. Like, I just don't believe you anymore. And any of these things could be true, right? Like, it very well could be true that that was their plan all along, to get feedback, and they just didn't communicate it well. It could be super true that they have been having really in-depth conversations about accessibility, and it just didn't become obvious to me. But they've been doing this to me for so long that at this point, when they say something, I'm like, all right, what's next? Like, I just don't believe them anymore. They have lost my trust.
Manny, I feel like you don't appreciate Snarky Lex as much as I do.
I deal with not Snarky Lex, but customer faith and integrity a lot. There becomes a point where people just believe you're talking in bad faith, and it's impossible to hold a conversation anymore. People will start calling me a Blizzard apologist when I have these takes. But if you go into a conversation and you don't believe a word coming out of their mouth, you're no longer having a conversation, right? There is no way that they can convince you unless they are placating you. And I do not want to be placated, right? I would rather that I scrutinize and criticize everything that comes out of Blizzard's mouth for the grain of truth that I want to believe is there, than to say everything they're throwing at me is lies, right? And that's hard sometimes. That's really hard when you see frustrating things coming, right? I think that if you had your wish, Lex, and somebody came out and said, oh man, this was a lot more than we thought it would be, and we're really struggling right now, you wouldn't get the reaction that you're hoping for. You would get people who are also thinking that Blizzard is like eternally gaslighting, use that as ammunition and go further than you would, Lex, because I believe you're a reasonable person, right? And that's not me gaslighting you, that's just the general truth of it, right? But there are people who are just bad faith that are going to be like, yeah, Blizzard has never known what they're talking about. Now they're finally admitting it. And I've heard this and this and this. And then because you have now said, you know what, guys, we were lying, you throw out any chance of truth, right? I think that if you, after the fact, you go, you know what, look, thinking back, and there were these conversations and that, and we decided to go like this, and this is where it went through, there's a time for that, but I don't think it's the time right now. It's a question of tact at this point, right?
Yeah,
and so, like,
I was going to say,
let's be honest.
I have a solution. FazDev, you can send us a DM. If you're already in the Discord at bit.ly/FazDiscord, you can message any one of us and just say, yo, it's a lot. That's all you got to say. Just let us know. Hey, it's a lot.
Just message me personally. I'll 100% start everyone will call me a Blizzard apologist. If you're like kind of nice to me.
Yeah, that's right. All it takes is for FazDev to send Lex one message that says it's a lot. And really anybody, listen, if you're part of the Faz if you're a Faz head and you want to make Lex happy, just send her a message from the Discord that says it's a lot. In fact, all listeners who are in the Faz Discord, I would like all of you to message Lex. Just send her a DM, 2 words, 3 words. It's a lot.
If you say, if it's hyphenated and you say it's a lot,
yeah,
I think you could squeeze at it.
That's the goal, okay? Fazzies, Faz heads, Faz folk.
Oh my goodness.
Fazzers.
Lex is about to be bombarded by the Faz universe.
Send Lex a DM that just says it's a lot, so that Lex knows that you know, and that maybe one of you is FazDev, and then we'll really never know the truth. No marriage proposals. Don't send. That's weird. Don't do that. That's weird. Just it's a
Okay.
Keep those public on the YouTube.
That said, go ahead.
So in seriousness, that is a fair point. I think my immediate counterpoint is like, yeah, and whose fault is it that I don't trust Blizzard anymore? Like, it's not mine. I wasn't the one making shit up. But I'll stop swearing.
You're assuming that they're making stuff up. Again, that's like part of like what's happened. Like there's this like loss of faith in any of the communication, and therefore, like the conversation is you going like, what are you going to lie to me about this time? So even if there is something in there that's true, or if it's like, hey, we're going to share this with you early, and then we're going to change our mind, then you're going to think, hey, when they change their mind, they're lying to us. Right?
It's fair. I mean, I can't stop thinking about this time last expansion when all three of us were like so over the moon with everything Blizzard was doing and getting really, really hype and talking about how we like and like scolding and reprimanding people who we felt online were being unfair and not giving them good faith. And so there's a level like it's not like Blizzard is not capable of having my faith, but trust is built slowly and lost quickly. And like I hear what you say that like maybe I am assuming bad faith, and I've been, I know I am assuming bad faith. Maybe I've been assuming bad faith for longer than I should have been. And I've been like suspicious of Blizzard for a while. That's become part of my, persona, I suppose, on the show, is always assuming that Blizzard is overworking their employees, for example. But yeah, and like I guess ultimately also, who cares what I think, right? Like they're gonna do what they're gonna do, and I can yell into the void to the best of my ability, but like they can do it, and they can delete the game. They could delete the game tomorrow, and there's nothing I could do about it.
They would
So
never
like
do that, Lex. If they were going to delete the game, they would do it alongside another game to replace it. It would never happen all at once, like a Band-Aid raid off. They wouldn't stop one thing without having something else already ramped up and to replace it and some time together.
Yeah, they're gonna make sure that they talk to the other game developers like really carefully, because they understand they have a lot of information that Blizzard World of Warcraft doesn't have before they delete the game.
Exactly, Manny.
You guys don't even know.
I also feel like you don't appreciate snarky Sean enough.
No. It's a conspiracy. They have like timed this perfectly with the release of Fellowship, so that, and they've been like putting their own personal money in. So like when Fellowship blows up, their stocks are gonna go like through the roof. Blizzard employees, they're screwing you over, and you're falling for it, all of you. Anyways, back to the actual serious conversation.
But just for the record, I like snarky Manny too. I just like snark.
We should have a snark podcast where we're just mean.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I would like, if you actually care what Lex says, feel free to message her so that she doesn't keep saying nobody cares what she likes or what she thinks about, because I'm tired of hearing about it. Maybe you are too. That said, they went through and they did healing frames, raid frames, and the updates on that. And that is something that showed up right after we finished recording the last episode with a bunch of new information. Now, this is an iteration. This only shows one version. There are apparently 3 versions coming out, right? But it is a step in the right direction. And hopefully, with additional feedback, we'll get further iteration on that. Sean, tell us about this.
Okay, so they're redoing the raid frames. Just what Manny said. It looks, first offering looks good. Now, what we are looking at, if you're reading the article, which you can find, I assume, in the show description or online, Google WoW raid frames or something. I don't know how Google works, obviously. But the image they showed is a Photoshop. So this is not in-game functioning. It is a Photoshop. There are a couple of very clear signs that it is a Photoshop. Number one being that all of the characters are named after Brazilian soap stars. Number two is that there's a healer, a hunter who's marked as a healer, which isn't a possibility. Which does concern me a little bit that got through like whatever levels of review. Yeah, that's a hunter. That's a hunter. Because
which one? The light green?
Felix, yeah, on the right.
Oh, yep.
It looks great. It's a good first offering. So they've addressed some things that they specifically mentioned that they're pulling from some very popular raid frame add-ons. I have to assume cell because they're using a cell-like overlay to show how poisons look. So they have there's a raid frame glow, and then like an opaque overlay, and then an icon in the top right corner when somebody has a dispel on them. In this case, it's poison. We don't see any other types other than poison, but I have to assume that a curse would be purple, a magic would be blue, or something like that. That's a great change, very positive. They have said they're going to highlight and make bigger to indicate tank swap mechanics, which is great if I'm forced to use the raid frames to identify tank swap mechanics. But if I'm forced to use the raid frames to identify tank swap mechanics, I'll probably stop playing Warcraft. I would really, really like for an option, if that's the only way to do it right now. Every tank that's any good uses a weak aura that tracks their tanks, their co-tank stacks of whatever debuff it is. If we lose that ability, we need to have some way to pop out specific frames from the raid frames, which they don't mention, but that's feedback that they can use because no tank is staring at raid frames trying to find out how many stacks their co-tank has. But that's one change they're making. They are putting all of our buffs and stuff in places. So it looks good. There is one thing I want to call out, which looks to be an out of. So right now you could already have frames gray out that are out of range, but this looks to be showing a line of sight indicator. And honestly, this article came out October 23rd. So 6 days ago, as of this recording. And everybody on the planet has theorized that eye with a line through it is a line of sight indicator to say that this person is not just out of range, which a grayed out raid frame now means out of range, but this has an eye with a line through it. Everybody that I know has surmised that to mean it's a new line of sight indicator, which doesn't currently exist. And if it's not, if it has been guessed and theorized for 6 days that this is a line of sight indicator and it's not, and Blizzard hasn't come out to say, hey, no, say, we hear you and we know that would be awesome. That technology doesn't exist. It just means they're out of range. If they haven't corrected people and it's not a line of sight indicator, you're going to have a lot of very angry people.
Why not
a lot
both?
of angry healers.
I would love.
Sorry?
I think it should be both. I think it should be that through either line of sight or range, you can't target this person. Just put it as one symbol that covers both. Yeah,
that works, but everybody has so right now, the way raid frames work, grayed out is out of range, and there is nothing for line of sight. Having that eye on there and not just grayed out has made people think, oh, hey, this means line of sight. If it's still no line of sight, because if somebody is in range but out of line of sight, they look like they can be healed. So I'm just saying that after 6 days of people celebrating what looks to be new functionality, if it hasn't been clearly corrected from Blizzard to say, hey, that's not what this is, it's going to be a bloodbath when it comes out that it's not what it is. But they look great. So still some concerns. It's a really good starting point. The overlays for dispels is really nice. The locked in positions for buffs and debuffs, which they state in here where those go, that's also really nice to have. This is not a finished product. They're going to have 3 different versions of this, but we still want to see, because right now it said add-ons will be able to manipulate where things are in the frames, but that doesn't solve the problem of we desperately need to be able to select what buffs and debuffs are shown in these frames. Please let us do that. I don't need to see, that somebody has sated for the next 9 minutes on their frame. I don't need to see that. I don't need to see that, their Hearthstone is on cooldown or whatever. Actually, I don't think that's a debuff, but I just let us whitelist and blacklist buffs and debuffs, please. That is so important on everything, not just the raid frames, on the cooldown manager, on the nameplates. That's my number one ask for everything you're doing, Blizzard. Let us select. Give us that choice. Because, there's lots of examples outside of raid frames I don't want to get into, but like the outbreak with Death Knight, Luxtos was just talking about it today on Twitter, how if you don't have a certain thing talented, there's no reason to track outbreak, but you're still tracking it. And so it's just pointless information. Anyway, the raid frames look good. It's a good starting point, but we're in phase 5. We know there's a phase 6 coming of the alpha. We don't know if there's a phase 7. This, much like the damage meters, much like the debuff tracking, much like the external defensives, is not yet functional in the game. It's not implemented, much like sound alerts on boss warnings, not yet implemented. I would really like to be able to test some of the stuff and not just look at a picture of it that was done up by a UI guy or girl, a UI person.
Yeah. But while we are waiting, the carnage continues. We have seen a number of additional add-on developers say that they are pausing support for many popular add-ons. So we will see how quickly Blizzard can get it up to the point where they get some of those that support. But obviously, Weekor said before, Elv UI now has said that they don't believe they can do support going forward. There have been additional information put out to the devs that show stuff that is coming with the Phase 5 that we just got this week, that is coming with the reported Phase 6 that Sean alluded to earlier, that we haven't seen an official confirmation on, and beyond that. But at this point, I know the conversation about add-ons has sort of overshadowed everything, but this is a big reason why, even if you are not currently in the alpha, you should still get feedback in. If you see and you're like, okay, I won't have this, right? It is fair to have your perspective. Go onto the forum, say like, hey, like, I use this for this reason, or I can't do this without this. Like, all of that is information, and let Blizzard sort it out because they asked for it. It's their job to sort it out. With that said, let's move on. We have heard some other unconfirmed rumors, which kind of got a clickbait title from our dear friends at Wowhead. The Windows Central website speculated about the power of the next Xbox. It was them going off of some statements, and as well as some of their own insider sources to talk about what the next Xbox will be capable of, what they think it will be capable of, and what that might mean for various functions of this console. And of course, one of it was that, hey, this new Xbox is basically going to be a PC, a set PC in a package that they sell as an Xbox. And that means that it will be able to run anything that a PC should be able to add, including various game storefronts, like the Steam game front, Epic Store, and of course, important to us, the Blizzard Battle.net. If they can do that, that means they're going to be able to download and run World of Warcraft. But that doesn't mean, like was somewhat suggested and all over the internet was there, that WoW is being reworked. They knew this was coming. WoW is being reworked for consoles. Congratulations, all those conspiracy theorists. You are finally proven right. No, it's just that the next Xbox is a PC that they're naming Xbox. And so, therefore, it should be compatible with WoW. But, yeah, this was a fun, like, I think it was an afternoon of people just going absolutely wild. And in the show notes, I have literally linked just WoW and consoles as a Twitter search, and you can see some of the wild things that people were saying. It was great. The internet pundits did not disappoint. Lex, if you could get WoW on your console, how happy would you be?
So I'm one of the people who was doomering a little bit when this came out. Because I was saying that I did not want World of Warcraft to be a console game because I thought that changing it to like reworking it in a way that would make it accessible on consoles would ruin a lot of what made World of Warcraft fun for me, and I do not play on consoles for a reason. And one of my friends, very nicely, in an attempt to calm me down, said, "Oh, but Lex, you play Final Fantasy, and Final Fantasy is also console accessible. Do you think it's a worse game because it's console accessible?" And in that moment, I hadn't really thought, I don't know if I didn't realize or hadn't thought deeply about it, but had not really mentally processed that Final Fantasy was a console game. And I suddenly understood all of the things I hate about Final Fantasy. And I'm like, oh, that's why the mechanics suck. That's why fight design is terrible. Which I'm so sorry if you're a Final Fantasy person. And you're like, wow, I did not come into for Azeroth expecting my yum to be yucked. Forgive me. I'm glad that you like your yum. I think it's icky. I am getting a little bit convinced by my friends that World of Warcraft is being reworked for consoles. I don't know anything about game development, so I don't know if that's true. They've just very much talked me into that side, but I don't know how game devs work. I don't know any of that stuff. But I hope it's not, because I don't think that MMO mechanics are fun on consoles. I think that is bad.
Well, this is, again, because it is a PC, this allows them to avoid a lot of the hoops that they would have to jump through to get all those sort of things onto this system. So that means, like, all those PlayStation exclusives that have come out to PC, well, now they can be run on this Xbox through this roundabout way. If you've played on SteamOS, which can, like, backlog into the Linux that it's running on, right? Or they have those, I forget what the company is. You know what? It's in the notes. It is the Xbox Ally. And like a number of companies have that. There's the ORG Ally and so forth. But it is basically a glorified Steam Deck, right? It's a quote-unquote console first. So you boot and you play, and it goes right into your library, and you pick the game, and you get to play your game off of it. The controls are typically preset to be compatible with compatible games, but you can play incompatible games, but you'll have to do a little bit more work to set up the controls. You can put various things onto that aren't necessarily meant for it, but are just compatible with the base hardware that's running in the background. The Xbox would be much the same way, and that's why it allows you to play WoW on there. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to properly do half the things that you want to do on WoW, especially on such a small screen. I would hate to raid on an ally with a screen about that big. That would have to be hooked up to a TV or something to get the details I want.
Yeah, and if that's the direction, if it's more that, like, oh, they're making the Xbox more of a PC, so hype, like, which is what I want to say. I understand that's what they're saying in the Wowhead article. I think that's great. If they were testing, because they did very explicitly state you can play World of Warcraft through Battle.net, and if that was them testing the waters to see how World of Warcraft players would feel about World of Warcraft being reworked to be played on a console, I feel bad about that. Don't do it. I don't want you to do it. Please don't worry about it. No, thank you. Or at the very least, don't, design your mechanics for PC players. If the console players want to play the video game and they want to turn on single button mode and they want to be, struggle with mechanics, more power to you. But design it as a PC game. And who knows? I don't know how devs. I don't know if it's true that the reason they put in single button mode was because they were planning on making it go to consoles eventually. Do I look like I understand how to develop a video game? That's my take.
I want to throw it to Sean, but also I do want to say that, like, people who are running a Steam Deck have been playing WoW on the Steam Deck already. Like, I believe content creator Mr. GM has done, like, even tutorials about how you can set that up. So, like, it is possible now, but obviously that's not the intention or, like, a evident intention of the design of World of Warcraft or the developers. It's just something that you're able to do, much like some people have gotten the original Doom to work on a pregnancy test or something like that. So it's, like, just because it's possible doesn't mean it's intended. I want to pass it to you, Sean. Anything you want to throw in there?
I was just I can't miss this opportunity to potentially rile Lex up a little bit, so I'm gonna. Lex, they're very clearly not designing Warcraft for consoles, because if they were, they'd have to remove add-ons, simplify all the classes, remove complexity from the raid mechanics, and implement something that you could just like hold down one button and have attacks happen. So it's very clear that Blizzard is not developing Warcraft for consoles.
There you go.
Now,
There you go.
I honestly don't think they are, but that was a fun tweet that I saw this week. And I thought that it felt fitting because I'm pretty sure Lex is convinced they're developing Warcraft for console.
But again, I don't know anything about game development. My friends who know things about game development have made that point to me, and I don't know how to refute it.
It's like a huge process to do a console port from a PC game. Like right now, there's not even native controller support in Warcraft. For them to port it to Xbox to make it a console game, you would have to plug in a mouse and keyboard still. Like otherwise, the only way to do proper controller support is with an add-on, which on a normal console you wouldn't be able to do.
And the Blizzard team will never take on a project not fully understanding how complex it is and like just release it really rapidly and very undercompleted.
Listeners, you have to message Lex. It's a lot. That's all you have to say. I'm worried for my friend who is worried for the developers in this game that we love.
So, if you don't want to support Lex with messages of cheer and love, you can support us in a number of different ways, including through Patreon, because nothing says I love you like some money. At least that's what my mom tells me. So, Sean, go ahead and tell us about our latest Patreon.
All right, we're staying on script this week, chat. I guarantee it. Before I do any of that, I want to give a special thanks to our newest patron, Dax. Thank you so much, Dax, for your support. We really appreciate you. And welcome to the Fazverse, officially, Faz Universe. Although really, everybody's part of the Fazverse. You don't have to be a patron. That being said, For Azeroth will always be free. But if you enjoy the content we produce, consider pledging to our Patreon at patreon.com/FAZ. And I think there's a free option too. You can just go there and hang out. We are going to now be putting our unedited full pre-show and post-show ramble in audio format on the Patreon. So if you want to know what we talk about when we're not talking about Warcraft, as we get ready to talk about Warcraft, you could jump on there and have a listen. Spoiler alert, it's not very exciting. I mean,
Show.
it's thrilling. It's edge of your seat stuff.
Kira, shoot the shit. Sorry, Manny, I did it again.
Why can't you guys just stick to the script? I put so much effort into these show
I was so
notes.
close. Listen, Manny, you copied that script from Joss. You don't get to take credit for the Patreon script.
I mean the rest of the rest of the notes, which
Do
are
you want
really
to stay
good
unscripted
notes.
entirely? Should I only read off the notes, Manny? Do you want no emotion and no thought from me? Honestly, actually, probably yes. Based on the number of times I've sworn in this episode and then snarked at the people who no, yeah, Manny's like, yes, in fact.
In fact, why don't you talk to us about Midnight Alpha Phase 5, Lex, with the script right there in front of you.
Earlier than in weeks past, the next phase of the alpha is here. Level 90, story and quests. Level 90 campaign, chapter 1, our Cantina visitor quest.
I regret everything. Continue in regular.
I like
Okay.
Lex just as much as I
Alpha
like
phase 5
Snappy
is here. We got it a little sooner than you expected. We're up to level 90 now. We have our story. We're on to the level 90 quest, chapter 1. We have the Arcantina visitor quest, which I'm very excited to talk to you guys about because I did a little bit of that. We have our weekly quests. You have to either use the skip or complete the main campaign if you want to get access to that. So if you're in alpha and you're like, oh, what are we going to do? There you go. And you also have all previous content. You can access that as well. In housing, budgets for the room placement and decor are back to the levels closer to about week 3. I am going to be honest, every time I've logged in, housing has been bugged, so I don't actually know what that means. Somebody want to tell me what that means?
So last week, they had greatly slashed the budget that you had for placing items in rooms or even the amount of rooms that you could do. So remember week 1 where you're like, I made 20 rooms and oh, I can't decorate them all. that might not have been possible last week.
None was
in
possible
fact,
last week. There was no housing last
Okay,
week.
good. I was going to say, I
They
tried to.
drastically slashed.
They said no rooms.
But like, sorry, the previous week. But then like on top of that, people were saying that like, hey, with this new greatly reduced ceiling of what we can put into rooms and how many rooms we can have, the tutorial show house that they have on the WoW launcher wouldn't be possible.
And
Like,
that's why everyone in my
that was
Discord
above
was
these
doomering.
caps.
Like an insane person. Respectfully, if you're one of the people in my Discords. I say Discords, like it's not just my guild Discord that I listen to. Okay, I'm caught up. Dyes are back too, by the way, in housing. So those were re-enabled. We have our delves. We have Parhelion Plaza, the Dark Way, and we have Torment's Rise, which is our Nemesis delve. Prey is available. I actually kind of can't believe I haven't tested that before this show because I've been talking about it so much. So I will test Prey, and I'll come back to you guys about if it's good next week. Have you guys tested Prey? Do you guys know if it's good?
I was working through most of the day, so I did not have a chance to test it.
I didn't test it because I'm so used to being the predator that I'm not used to being prey.
So this
Well,
is
you're
what's
supposed to
confusing to me
hunt
about the
prey.
prey
You are
system is
still
I
the
think you
predator.
are the predator.
No, don't you get jumped? Something jumps you,
Well,
right? It
but
chases you down.
That's the thing is you're getting jumped, but you're objectively stalking someone.
Oh, we're both the prey.
You're both the-
Chat is telling us we're both the prey.
But then doesn't that make nobody the prey? You can't.
What if the real prey was the friends we made along the way?
Yeah, that's why they
Or
don't.
just
That's
worse
why every
because
time
it
I try to run
rhymed.
Mythic Plus with people, they go offline. They're like,
It was like
shit,
10
she's back.
times worse because you rhymed. Like you're a
I don't know that I've
poet and
ever
you are unaware of the
single-handedly-
fact, and it's just horrible.
I don't know that I've ever single-handedly ended a show before.
Okay. So yes, we'll definitely come back with our first impressions of Prey because I do think that it is one of the more interesting things that they've added, especially as like quasi end game pillar. Now that we're getting gear out of it instead of it being just cosmetic like they originally thought.
I would like to make a proposal that at least on this show and in the greater Fazverse, we stop calling any solo player content as an end game pillar because it's just not. It's not.
Why?
Thank you.
Can't.
Because you knew that I was about to open mic, Manny, and be like, oh, is it an end game pillar if it's ending at the same point that most end game pillars start? Like, I was gonna be a little snarky, a little jerk about that.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. So you're saying that the only way to be an end game pillar is to provide the highest loot possible.
Yes. Yeah. In order to be an end game pillar, you have to provide gear that is equivalent to what you can get in the highest content of the game. So Mythic Plus, PvP, because it's a separate loot system and its own, and rating.
And
Those are the
professional
three
crafting.
pillars. Yeah. Crafting, sure. I'll put crafting in there. Listen,
I see the point Manny's about to make, because that's solo content, so there is a solo end game pillar.
Thank you,
crafting's not
Lex.
solo. Crafting's not solo. I require people who have the professions to craft the things for me.
That's a good point.
No,
Sean doesn't
that's
do his
not
own.
true.
The crafters can't possibly level up all on their own without help.
That's
Yes, they
still not
can.
true.
Tell me you've
Yes,
never
they
been
can.
well, I guess alchemists don't make gear.
I obviously know nothing about crafting, and I would like to move on.
Speaking of crafting, you guys,
We'll
you can
get
test sparks now.
Yeah.
I'm so good at getting shows back on track.
Yeah, that's nice that they're testing that. It doesn't seem like there's much difference other than like the new changes in quality of items and what you can craft. I do want to try and reach out to somebody who is one of those like more into crafting, at least, if not like a serious gold maker, to see what they think things are shaping out. But that I think is always something that I consider more in the beta and such when classes are more solidified, so we know what the classes would be after, and like items haven't randomly changed. But I would be, the thing about professions is I would be more interested in them if they actually counted for something. It's the one thing on alpha beta that like I cannot test because it feels so running on a hamster wheel. Like I'm just doing work for the sake of, does this hamster wheel work? Rather
It's like
than
sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but you don't get very far.
pretty much. And which is funny that I don't have that same consideration with any of the questing, any of the like time I'm like wailing on some poor practice dummy, because I feel like when I do that, the information that I get helps me when the game goes. And technically, this crafting stuff should do that. I don't know why I just have that mental divide there.
Because you don't think solo activities are really worth your time.
Yeah, but I'm testing.
Well, that's why
so I'm
he's
like,
a cutting edge raider.
like I'm testing delves.
What? We both know you're not testing any delves, sir.
What? I'm testing delves. I'm enjoying delves. Anyways.
Well, speaking of delves, there is one thing that's not on the show notes that I do want to bring up because chat mentioned it, and we would be remiss if we didn't. There's a new Hall of Fame for the Delve Nemesis.
That's
The first 1,000 people to kill ? Not Kaivesa, will be in the Delvers Hall of Fame. How many only Delve players do you think will get that versus how many CE rank 1 raiders will get it because they're doing it in week 1?
I think that there'll be a healthy mix of them because, especially, in season 1, I suspect it will be tilted more towards the people doing a lot of different content because the gear disparity between where you start at just hitting level 80 and what you would need to complete this will be the largest. Is going to be all expansion. However, in season 2 and season 3, I suspect that a lot of delve-only players are going to tear through it and they're going to have a healthy representation on the Hall of Fame board. Especially since the Kaivesa stuff doesn't count towards your vault in terms of dropping loot like you would get at the end of a normal delve. And therefore, the people who are more focused on raids, the people who are more focused on M+ and gearing for that are less likely to push along that. Mind you, people who have done funnier stuff for Hall of Fame. There's a lot of social and reward aspects that I think will make this different.
Okay. All right. That was a well thought out answer. I have no snarky reply.
Okay. I will give you a little snarky thing that you didn't quite consider. You don't give this same shade to people who get title in M+ or who get Hall of Fame in Raid, saying, how many people who just Raid get Hall of Fame in Raid? So your bias is showing on that.
Well, nobody gets nobody who just raids gets Hall of Fame. And I will actually say, I do think it's frustrating as a raider that I, by definition, have to do non-raid things. I'm happier now that I had delves, but I could throw fits for hours about that. Back when the only real way to get gear outside of raid was Mythic Plus.
I reserve all of my Mythic Plus title snark for people selling boosts to title.
All right. I will say, Lex, that I think that if you are going to play at the highest levels, whether that is PvP, whether that is title pushing M+, whether that is Hall of Fame raids or this Hall of Fame delves, being able to get the best from all versions of the game should give you an advantage. That kind of mastery of the entirety of the game being funneled towards something, I think is something I'm A-okay with. Now, I don't think that you, as an AOTC raider, right, should feel that you need to get 12 pluses to unlock mythic level gear or 10 pluses to get it in your vault so that you can overpower the heroic raid. That to me is a struggle that should that I'm glad that they are addressing. What's in between there? That's where I'm like, okay, I'm not so sure.
Super fair. I will say, and I've said this on the show before, I would be more on your side if it went both ways. If there was nobody pushing Mythic Plus title, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't actually really know who pushes title because I'm not a high level player, but my understanding is there is a lot of people who push M Plus and only, like, I have never heard any Mythic Plus player say, you know what sucks is the fact that I have to do a minimum of 3 hours of raiding every single week if I want to be able to push keys.
There are those people. There are definitely, and like some very popular content creators who only Mythic Plus, or who are very vocal about the fact that they only raid because the best trinket or the best cantrip item is in the raid. J.B, one of the best healers in the world, multiple MDI competitor, and hates raiding. Absolutely hates it, and is very vocal about the fact that he shouldn't have to raid to just play M+.
Stand corrected.
And he's not alone. Yeah, there is a lot of people, and there is a lot of raiders. You're not alone either, Lex. There, even on our raid team, there's one in the chat who, if they didn't have to do Mythic Plus for the gear edge that it gives them in Mythic raiding, they wouldn't. They would never step foot into a Mythic Plus. One of them convinced our entire raid team to run normal instead of LFR this week for the Dinar buff, just so they wouldn't have to do 4 dungeons.
Which is so valid. That was me convincing people to do heroic. So yes. Okay. Well, then I'm wrong, and that's super fair, and I will own that. And I guess there is actually give and take. And that's but I'll buy that, Manny. That it's valid to do better in the game if you're able to do all of the types of the game than if you just specialize in one thing.
My dark confession is that I hate pet battling because there are certain mounts that are behind pet battling, and I don't want to do pet battling to get those mounts. And so, like, selfishly, I wish that they would change pet battling so that, like, pets wouldn't even have the pet battle anymore in future expansions. I'm just going to slip that to FazDev so that maybe I get my way.
Wait, pet battling, you heal animals and they run behind you.
Can't you just, like, Super Squirt Day and juice up a
Never
pet
touched Super Squirt Day. That seems like getting way into pet battling than I have any wish to ever do.
For pet battling, and I don't know what you guys. I only did casting because I was
bad. You have to know what Super Squirt. Listen, if anybody on this podcast knows Super Squirt Day, Lex, it's you. You're the pet battler. Surely it's like the power leveling day for animals in your garrison or something.
Yeah, and I should also say that I was invited to pet battle to cast pet battles because they wanted somebody who could kind of like counter the person who understood pet battling and like explain it to the audience. So I was the idiot, which is am I ever the idiot on another form of content creation that people use to like be the audience? I don't know. Anyway, because this is the episode where Lex is the hater. How do you guys feel about our cantina?
I haven't tried it yet, but I guess.
Oh, that's
fun.
why. Okay, so last episode, Sean was trying to give a shout out to one of the FazDevs. Was like, hey, whichever one of you FazDev created that mini game where you like untie the lines and stuff, love you and everything. There's an infinite version of that in the Arcantina.
Wait, is there really?
Are you serious?
Yeah, the one where you switch the pipes around.
May all your hits be crits.
It's in the Arcantina.
End it. I gotta go log in.
Yeah, and you get introduced to it as part of the Azeroth storyline. So it is something you can get pretty quickly.
If anybody needs me, I'm a line untangler main now. Is there a Hall of Fame for this? Can I get mythic gear? Can I get mythic gear from it?
Oh wait, we need gear. Yeah, we need gear. Otherwise, it's not actual end game.
That's it.
Anyway,
I'm a lion untangler. That's my new end game. I'm off the raid team. Somebody tell Brock.
Prot Warrior, Line Untangler.
That's right.
Race to World Straight Untangling.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the world straight. Do you have any idea how quickly they
Unfortunate pause. We'll continue.
Yeah, it's probably going to be wildly offensive. We'll get letters.
Yeah.
You can send those to bit.ly/FazDiscord.
And then, of course, as we are now reaching Phase 5, they have been putting in a number of things that are part of the end game. So, as we were talking about the Arcantina, Lex, you were talking about Prey, but there are all of those events that are in the different areas that allow you to do different things. So we've got the Legends of the Herinar, which is the lore-based one, the Stormarian Citadel, which is the one in the Voidstorm, the Amani Abyss, again, that's Herinar. Abundance is in all of the zones, and of course the Satharil's Soiree, which we one, it's in Silvermoon, but we believe that is something along the lines of Embercourt. The other thing that's part of the end game are class sets. They had some implemented with last one, and then this week we've added in a lot more. All of these look very, very basic. They're just straight flat DPS increases for particular moves. I think it's worth noting that all the tank ones are also damage increases. They're not like defensive increases, which, I like that for tanks. Sometimes, like, you're just survivable enough, and getting a little more damage feels better as a tank.
Yeah, +1.
+1 for that.
6, 7.
No, I'm leaving the show. I don't want to hear that ever again.
Am I doing it right?
I might do it.
Is this actually the 6? This is an audio show.
Clip 6, 7.
Oh dear God. Anyways, do check out the notes. There are a lot of class changes still going on, so make sure you are checking that. And we will be back next week with even more.
Manny heard me say I was going to be a hater about the Argentina, and I've never heard him change a topic faster in his life. What's your question, Sean?
They've been tuning the class sets. Like they put class sets in a few weeks ago. They've been tuning stuff like that. There's been no endgame content available to test. What are they basing the tuning on?
They weren't tuning the sets. They've been adding in the sets, right?
Pretty sure I saw changes to damage numbers for some of the sets.
Well, some of them are based on the class tuning, which means that the set now needs to reflect that, right?
Okay, all right. I'll buy that. That works. I'll take it. Now you may end.
Okay. Until next time, guys, may all your hits be crits.